Well, hello everybody. First of all, hope you're all doing great. And we are going to talk about one of my favorite things in the whole world, and that is riffs. Riffs! Woo! So what about riffs? You know, it's probably my favorite thing in the world to play on guitar. I love playing solos, I love doing all that stuff. Woo! Man, I love a good riff. And when you saw the title, I bet a riff popped in your mind. That one riff, you know, we all have those riffs. Like when you think of just a riff, like what pops into your mind? Like, put it down in the comments. Like, what's the first thing you think of when you hear someone talk about a riff? You know, for me, I think of riffs that have, like, if it's like rock kind of riffs, Attitude, Still of the Night just popped in my head. Mean Street by Van Halen. You know, just stuff like that pops in my head. I'm like, those are riffs. You know, they're just lean and mean and. I played that horribly. So that's what we're talking about today. Not so much like a tab lesson or anything like that. You can still check out lesson packs on my website if you want to. But, you know, let's talk about riffs. Let's talk about building riffs and kind of what you can do with them. So let's take a very simple chord progression. So we're going to take an A minor. Helps my guitar has volume, doesn't it? Still no volume, man. Whew. 3 strikes, I would have had to just end the video there. So our chords are going to be A minor, C major, G major, and then D major. Very simple, straightforward, common chord progression. And it's kind of like, well, how do we build this into a riff? And, you know, for one, you know, just kind of strumming them out could be like a chorusy kind of riff. For me, again, you know, everyone has their own interpretation of what a riff is. I'm just gonna keep saying that. You know, I like things that are choppy, so you don't have to necessarily use the full chord. You can turn them into power chords. Although I missed that D chord, dang it. I mean, to me, that's a riff. Boom, we just did it. Video's over. I'm done. No, probably shouldn't have done that. There we go. I've got this shot's all out of focus now. But no, that's a riff. Boom, we've already done it. You know, it's a. Oh, damn. You know, I'm like, okay, cool. So there, you know, now we have a great building block for a riff. And I'm like, okay, now is that all I want the riff to be? Because one of the things I know as a guitar player, as a person who can't sing, I'm awful at singing. So I feel like I've always like mentally needed to make up for it with riffs. I never let my riffs be super simple unless there's a lead. If there's a lead going over top of it, I kind of like chill out with the riffage. But if I'm just sitting there playing something by myself, I try to have the riffs be a little bit busy, you know? So if I was to do this riff, if there's a solo over top of it, maybe something more melodic than that. Like maybe that's over top of that. Like a nice little melodic kind of like thing that still had attitude. But if there's nothing over it, if I'm like, you know what? One of the best things that I think that I've done for my playing and songwriting is not, you know, I'm not how do I say this? Learning to not be afraid to riff. In instrumental music, it's so easy to get caught up in the mindset that needs to be a lead over top of this, always a lead, you know, and I'm like, man, you know what? Sometimes I just want to hear people riff, and that's where listening to people like Keith Merrow and all these guys, I'm like, look, they're doing it. I'm like, why don't I do that? And that was where, you know, I was like, you know, even though it's not a singer, even though it's not a lead, you can just riff sometimes. And that has been like such an eye-opener for me as a player. So let's take that riff, okay? So there's going to be no lead over top of it. That's how I'm approaching this. Now, what do I want to do this? I'm going to incorporate my A minor pentatonic scale. Now, we have 2 boxes. Actually, I mean, there's basically 3 boxes here that are really close in this vicinity that we could use. So we could use box 4. Oh, sorry. We could use box 5. We could use box 1. Now those are all kind of in the area. So if I'm playing this and I'm like, okay. Maybe add a little something in there. Or maybe like... Boom! You know, I'm adding stuff to it. I'm making it more interesting for our ears to hear because, you know, this one sounded great. But I want to hear someone singing like, are you ready to sing a song? A song about rock and roll. You know, something like that. Like I want to hear a vocal line. Actually, I'm gonna turn that into a song. Just joking. But I'm like, okay, so that's not there. So then the riff, to hear that over and over again, to my ears would be boring. So I'm like, okay, so let's live it up. I like that. Like something like that. I'm like, that's sweet. It's a hook. Oh, the riff just went somewhere else. This is where you just gotta let yourself play. So let's see where this goes. Yeah, see, it's built. Sometimes an ugly note works. Bado. Now maybe come in here with a... There you go. Now we break it down. Oh. It was a YouTube channel. Sing and play this rhythm. And you just go with it. Boom, there's your riff. And what I'm utilizing is knowledge of some chord progressions. You know, you can build your chords. I chose A minor. All those chords are right there, you know. And then you just take all the little things you've learned. Palm muting, sliding. Maybe I want to make it more interesting. I'm like... Or maybe I go from A to A. And the breakdown, maybe I do it octave higher. AC/DC. It's almost shoot the thrill. Shoot you thrill, I mean. That's it though. Just have fun. You know, build off that tiny little plateau of a riff, and you're like, you know what? No, this isn't where this riff stops. We're going all the way to rock and roll. And then you rock out at the end, because that's the end of the video. So I'll see you all later. High five it up. I don't even know what this video was about. We were talking about riffs.